All right, this is the first episode. Elena, we talked about doing this, and finally, on this day of thunderstorm, typhoon number eight in Hong Kong, we decided
Yeah.
let's just do it, man.
Okay, so probably you can introduce the episode and our podcast briefly.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so this we want to do we what we want is a platform where we can just riff off. Me and Elena, we just want to riff off on the things that we want to discuss about the industry of architecture and business and the emergence of AI, which is something that we both care about. And we just want a platform where we can discuss and we want to get feedback as well and comments and people also beginning to discuss about, the current state, status or states of the industry. And we also want to talk about, the gap in between. Perhaps there might be a gap if you might agree with us that there is a gap in between the education that we are receiving, we received in our architectural journey versus how we're experiencing in the industry. So we wanted like a casual, like 30 minutes podcast series where we just kind of chat about these things and yeah, should be fun.
Yeah, it should be fun. So we will de delve into the world of architecture and design and somehow navigating the career path and contemporary challenges, etc., etc. Um,
Yeah.
so here are two of us, and I'm Elena. I'm a bachelor student from mainland China studying in Hong Kong, and I will soon be in exchange in Switzerland. And this is,
Ooh. Amazing. I'm so happy that you're going to Switzerland. So my name's Adeline. Some people call me Adeline. If you're more European, then my name is pronounced more Adeline. If you're more American, then it's Adeline. Doesn't matter that much. And so I feel like I'm a lot of hyphens right now. What that means is I am registered architect. I've gone through the whole dance, of doing the bachelor's year out, doing your logbooks, masters, doing your licensing exams. I got licensed. And then I had a couple of professional crises, as I like to call them, where I consistently doubt, or reflect, maybe that's a better word, of what I really want to do. And if what I'm doing now, what I thought I'd be doing when I was at a younger age. So Elena is really very much someone that I see. It's so okay, I think I see myself in you. It's so soon to say that, right? But that's kind of why we talk about so many things that kind of relate to us both, because I feel like I've gone through this journey. Anyway, I digress.
I'm just,
When I said hyphens, when I said hyphens, it means I'm an architect, but currently I'm also a design manager, so I'm more on the client side. That's kind of my day job. My not day job is that I have started my own company in AI consultancy and agency. And I'm also working on multiple micro SAS. That's all I can say right now. So yeah, I don't sleep much, but I still want to do this podcast.
I want to do this podcast is because I'm in a fairly early stage of navigating my career path, and Adeline, she has a lot of experience in going through all the thinking process and have went through a lot of stuff that I haven't. So I'm curious in her experience as well as how some other people will navigate in architecture and how we switch from an architectural student to actual architects or other professions in the future.
Mm. Yeah, I always find it interesting to talk to students who are still in school. Um, I think Elena is definitely one of the smartest people of her
No.
age that I've come across. Um, but I'm always interested to hear what they think because sometimes there's really a big difference between what they think they're going to be when they're in school versus what they're gonna become, or what the offer is going to be, right? I was briefly teaching some AI courses at a university before, and I that's how I came across, that's how I had different conversations with people, with students about what their ambitions are, and they were very akin to what I had before. And I didn't know how to, not that I want to burst their bubble, but I didn't know how to prep them for the reality shock that's going to come ahead in a year or two's time when
Mhm.
they graduate. I'm sure the industry is different, slightly different in different countries, but in a way, it's same. It's yeah, it's very similar in such a way where it's long hours, and there might be limitations to their creativity. Anyway, I don't know if we're on the right track of the of this conversation. I don't want to start going into a rant, but Lena, what do you think?
I'm just like it's very interesting to talk to someone who's 3, 4, 5 years ahead of what I am at current stage. So I'm just like very keen on to know what challenges I will face in the future and how I can better prepare for it. And I guess that is what most of the architecture students will probably be interested in. So this is why we're here.
I think you're so kind to say 3, 4, 5 years older than you. I think I am quite a bit more, but I'm flattered. Yeah, I think that's I'd love to share some funny stuff. Like some of my classmates, I really admire them. Like the peers that I had when I was in bachelor's, right? They've gone in such different paths, and I really admire them. Like one had become, I think briefly for a period of time, became a bus driver. I think I told you about this before, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of them became interior designers, um, and some of them became jewelry designers. I have to say, not a big portion of them, actually became architects. And those who became architects, when I spoke to them, they were not particularly happy. And I thought this might be, a good discussion point. Like, what is it? Like, what happened? And how, what could solve this, or what needs to be changed? Why is this industry so unhappy? And I don't know if it's just my experience or other people's. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I guess like
not
most
not
of
to be too
people
negative.
entering architecture, we have a passion of making this world better. And probably like in the career we're having right now, um the the impact we are having on improving the world, I don't know, is minor or
Hmm.
it's just not very scalable.
Mm,
Um so
yeah.
probably into the era of AI, it will help us to have more innovations, to speed up our productivity,
Mm,
and just to help us in general.
mm. Yeah, I love the fact that you brought up impact and AI. I think they're very relevant. And when we talk about impact, that is indeed the reason why I signed up for architecture in the first place. I think, like yourself, probably as well. It's
Yeah.
because we wanted to bring impact. And then we realized, oh, if we want to build anything, um, there are certain limitations. That's an understatement when I say certain limitations. There are a whole there first there's a client's brief, right? And of course this is a consultation, servicing industry where you want to service your clients, and you need to comply if you want to do that business with them. At the end of the day, it's a business. And you can do your best to do something that's with integrity and spatial quality. That's fine. And then there's the budget that you need to look at, the structure, the building services, civil. I mean, those are just the coordination that you need to work with other engineers. And then there's the budget. Then there's the building regulations, right? And then at the end of the day, you realize you're not really quite sure if you really bring in the scale, like you mentioned, the scale, the impact that you're really looking for. For some people, maybe that's okay. Maybe they've expected that. But for maybe for both of us, we see that in other fields, like in business or in AI or in the business of AI, that impact is so much more scalable. Not saying one is more important than the other, but just for the fact that it touches more people, it affects so many people worldwide through an SaaS, which is software as a service, for example, is massive. And yeah, you mentioned about AI being more efficient. I mean, we'll go deeper into that in, I think, other episodes, but definitely with AI, it kind of speeds up things for everyone, for architects themselves, but also for the clients themselves. So it's a threat as well as a strength now for the design industry.
Um, I would like to address on how you mentioned the limitations of what we are facing in the real world. I think that is something that we haven't crossed a lot in academic studios, designs and stuff. Because I feel like
Mm,
limitations and it can be something that's very economic, that will be efficient, and it has certain limitations which regulates how you design the building and the architecture. I feel like we probably need to go across more of that limitations in architectural studios so as that we can restrain ourselves to certain qualities, to certain
mm,
criteria. And that's probably more important in real architect,
mm,
the career that you have come across. But I feel like
mm,
it's not being stressed that much
mm.
in the education. And that's
Yeah,
something we would like to talk about in the future as well.
yeah, definitely. I think you're spot on. Like me going through, well, it's 3 years of bachelor's, 2 years of year outs for me, and 2 years of master's. I think maybe the biggest takeaway was I found out um what is good design and what is bad design. Like it's a taste that I dare say had you cultivate in architecture school. Now, other than that, other than that, I think I learned most of the things that the industry requires me to know in the industry, like by making mistakes. And I think that's okay. But if we look at other schools, right, like other faculties, like you go to nursing school to take the skills um, and be able to actually utilize them when you are out there, as a nurse. Or same case as an engineer, right? You've learned, well, actually a couple of engineers have told me that they haven't actually been able to also utilize what they've learned in school. But anyway, what I mean is it would be very nice if there are some skills that are transferable. I mean, the programming skills that we've learned Rhino. Actually, I think there were some classes taught, yeah, on learning Rhino, but I think Photoshop was self-learned. I learned that myself. But yeah, I
Mhm.
think that's the thing. Like there are some things that we
I
can
think we
learn
learned
ourselves.
most of
So
the software by ourselves, like on YouTube
yeah,
or other channels, like just watching some
yeah,
videos and
exactly.
teach yourself.
Or from your peers, right? From like the person who's sitting next to you, if they're able
Yeah.
to do something with their, you're like, oh, how did you do that? Um, Yeah, so my point is there ought to be more like maybe entrepreneurial skills that people can kind of understand. One thing I didn't understand for sure was that after my master's degree, I went into a large firm, and I found it difficult to wrap my head around the fact that they just wanted my, they didn't really need my brain. And it was a tough pill to swallow. They didn't need all the things that I've learned in school about, the theories and what's good space, what's bad, what's important for the airflow, environmental. Anyway, I'm sure it's different company by company. But I think the work experience that I had is a typical one, not an atypical one. And I was crushed because, oh God, all the things I've learned to be like moral, like, you know, it it's important, but it's not what they needed. They needed, rhino monkeys or SketchUp monkeys. Yeah, and on that, I was like, I didn't really go to school to become this. I kind of, unfortunately have slightly higher expectations for myself.
But I guess for the very first several years, or maybe like 5 to 10 years after you graduate, like those kind of monkey works are necessary because someone has to do it. And it's the architecture associate or assistant who does it most of the time. And that is the reality, right? Or
Yeah,
is
I
that like
mean,
very normal in the
that's
industry, or is it not?
that's such a that's a really good thing to bring up because we've been told that, right? I mean, the millennials, we've been told you're Gen Z, but the millennials have been told that you gotta work through the tough part and you gotta be an
Mm.
assistant for a couple of years. You gotta earn a certain low pay for a period of time until you can make it. You should, grind through. But now looking back, I don't know if we were told a lie or not. Because first of all, I think the well-known architects, like the architects who became star architects, a lot of them, sure, they did go through star firms and then they stopped working in star firms and then they worked on their own stuff. But I would say they're like one in a million and they need an opportunity, they need a network. So therefore, not everyone who had gone into architecture school can become that. Even if you work at a low pay at a star firm for many years, it might not become your reality. You might be stuck there for a long time. And then also, when I look at other industries, like there are many tech startups whose founder is like who's like 22, 23. They're not waiting to become like they're not waiting for people to give them opportunities. They take them themselves. And so I don't know why we're told that our youth need to be kind of used in such a way. Now, mind you, I definitely support the fact that, there's a certain apprenticeship that is very helpful when you learn with your, seniors. And I've certainly learned so much from my seniors, mainly like I think I learned more about people skills and how to pitch a project more from my seniors when I'm working in a company than anywhere else. So that part, I think it's important. But I don't know what I got out of doing SketchUp for a year. I don't think I learned that much other than knowing that it's not for me. And it also came to a realization that AI is gonna do that monkey work. So the lie or the story that we tell young people that they have to work um, for 4 or 5 years as a monkey falls flat. Now they need to look for something else. I mean, that's the case very soon. I personally believe that.
But why do you think, because you said like some other startups, the founder can start their own business at their 20s, but why architects can't? Is it because like the industry requires a lot more apprenticeship, and then we need many practices before we got into a real project that needs to be qualified, needs to be aesthetically beautiful. Why is it
Mm.
like we need a lot more years of practice before really handling our own design?
Yeah, I don't think we need a lot more years to handle our own design. I don't think so. I think it's about what the demand is in the market. There's a tech boom, and therefore more tech startup founders found their way. After the Second World War, and this is just my personal opinion, right? You can tell me what you think. After the Second World War, there was a period of time when, everything needed to be rebuilt or built again. If you are in a developed country, like we are, then there isn't such a huge demand need um, for that much building. There is demand, of course, every day for building, but not as much as, it's a red market, if you know what I'm saying. But the blue market is
Mhm.
the AI and the technology and things like that, and therefore there are more opportunities. I definitely don't think that people who had gone through architecture education is less capable or they need more of a hand up than other, business students or tech students. I don't have the perfect answer for this, to be honest, but I wish there could be like a bridge where architecture students or architects can also be um, entrepreneurs. Yeah. What do you think?
I actually don't know because before like a lot of people just told me for being really like being an architect you have to practice a lot of years so that you can build up the knowledge and be responsible to your client, to the ones who are using the building. So I feel like probably the things I've been told is that we need practice a lot of years before you really get to handle stuff. But that can change or that is not true. We can probably discuss it in the later episodes more deeply. But right now I don't have an answer for that. I actually don't know how capable I am and how capable like say 5 years of practice of
Mm,
architect what kind of capability they have because I haven't
mm,
get through those stuff.
mm.
So I'm curious to
Yeah.
know that later.
No, absolutely. And I know what you mean. I think I think you're wondering whether or not it really does require that many years to solve architectural problems, right? Um, I think it I think there are problems that I've come across that I feel like anyone with common sense can figure it out. And
Hmm.
you have regulations where you can check them and you would kind of if you have like I said, common sense, you can kind of solve certain issues. Uh, I think it's also the licensing part that is also it protects as well. It protects the profession, but sometimes I think it also hinders um, certain young talents to rise up and to take the opportunities that they like to take. I think that's my personal opinion. But then I think the industry is really changing. Like, what do architects actually do, right? Because we are not, I feel like we subconsult so many other consultants that we no longer have that much autonomy. Like, we subconsult, of
Mm.
course, the structural part to engineers and environmental part to, environment like Beam Pro consultants. And we have all sorts of different consultants doing, their specific parts that I kind of feel like architects are becoming more and more like, managers. And don't get me wrong, I'm not demeaning them, but I feel like our scope of work now in 2024 is very different to our scope of work like 50 years ago. And I think you mentioned something to me before, maybe a week ago. You mentioned that maybe this field had changed because we had peeled away from engineering from, a couple of decades ago.
I feel like probably in my experience in uni, we are not learning that many stuff about details about how to really construct with the materials that's available on the market, what architects are usually using in building the real projects. We're we are learning most of the time the concepts, the theory of architect, and how a space can heal people, a space that is very beautiful, but we are learning very few knowledge about how to actually build it and how to make our concept become practical.
Mm,
I think that is something you will come across a lot more during in the industry during practice. But do we need to learn it at uni? I feel like
mm,
there can be more courses about how the reality, how the engineers work with architects, and we're not crossing that transdisciplinary field
mm,
now, at least at our uni.
mm. Yeah, absolutely. And what you've just said had reminded me that I didn't know there were many different types of architects to be. What that means is, when I said we split the scope and we subconsult other people, there's also the fact that we split the scope. So a lot of architects are not doing full scope, meaning if we look at the different stages of design and build or design and construction, we are sometimes doing from concept all the way to detailed design. But sometimes we only do concept and we stop and we pass over to, or the client decides to pass it over to someone else,
Mhm,
to
mhm,
another designer, or we just do the schematic. We take the concept from someone else who had done the previous consultation work, and we take it over and we deliver it up till detailed drawings. So now that there are different stages, we're even more segmented into different um, kind of design packages. And so this also has to do with kind of the fee structure. Then don't get me started, and
What
this
is
has to
that?
be another episode about the
Okay.
fee structure and the company structure as well and the business model. Anyway,
That'll be in another
what is
episode.
that's another episode. All right,
That's another
so
episode.
we actually have not really explained the name of our
Mm.
podcast. Do you want to go ahead?
So our episode name is Loading Architect Learning, and why we chose the loading and architect learning is because nowadays there's a lot of machine learning, human learning, and we want to discuss how architect can learn through both education in the industry. So as um as we are recording our podcast, we are also learning as well. So this is why we are loading with all of you guys together to see how we can become a better architect or to have a broader knowledge of architecture and design industry. So this is why we are loading it together with you guys. And I hope you will have fun in all the podcasts.
Great. This is a no budget podcast, so bear
No
with us
budget.
if there are bear with us because there will be minimal editing and we just want to riff and then we just want to put it out there. So I think we're putting this on YouTube, Spotify and Apple Podcasts and some other places. Where else, Elena? Maybe if we manage to find a time, we will put something on Instagram, but we'll see.
Shall we
Okay,
talk about
so
how our next episode will be and the next
yeah,
season will be?
yes. Um, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so we have discussed that the first season. Um, we will do it bi-weekly if I remember correctly, right? Bi-weekly.
Yeah.
And our first season will be talking about the gaps between education and work, the similarities and differences that we came across in different period of time. So we'll talk about what the expectations of when you getting into university versus um what you have experienced at work. And we will talk about the skill sets we need in uni and at work. We'll talk about how uh, pragmatism and practicality of education and work. And also we'll talk about the supply and demand in the industry, the control we have over our design, and some rewards and money and the fee structure that you just came across. So that's pretty much the themes we have in mind right now. And next episode, we'll talk about the expectations first.
Yeah. Cool. So you see, guys, Elena is really one of the smartest people that I've come across at her age. So amazing. So I really look forward to the next one. And yeah, that's it. Cool. Bye,
Thanks,
guys.
everyone. Bye, guys.